Hi friend, I just wanted to take a minute to invite you to our Lash Biz Babes Experience 2026. This is a one-day all online event happening on May 2nd, and our theme for the year is going all in. We are shaking things up and doing it differently than anyone ever has before. This is going to be an all online event as usual, but it's going to be 100% a curated journey throughout your day as we guide you through the mindset, strategy, and passion needed to go all in on your business to make it your best year in business yet. All lash artists, estheticians, and beauty professionals are invited to join us. There will be guided sessions, interactive workshops, a panel discussion, and big giveaways happening throughout that whole day. And tickets are on sale now for only $199. Payment plans are available. Let's go all in on our businesses for 2026 together. All the details and the link for tickets are down in the show notes below. I would love to have you join us online in May. Welcome to Lash Biz Babes, the podcast for solo beauty business owners who want to build a full clientele and create a business and life that they truly love. My name is Erica. I'm your host. I'm a lash artist turned beauty business coach, lash educator, and social media manager for salons and beauty businesses. I'm so happy that you're here. Let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. Welcome back to this week's episode of Lash Biz Babes. My name is Erica. I'm your host. And this week we are actually going to be talking about when to know that it's time to throw in the tweezers. Now, this was a topic request that I got on Instagram recently. I had a question box up asking what you guys are struggling with right now, what you want to hear more about on the podcast. This was one of the suggestions that was given. There's so many perspectives that we could talk about this through. There's so many different angles to look at it from. I don't think it's going to be the same for everyone. There's not a right or wrong answer to this. And it really is such a personal decision. But I do hear this being talked about more and more. I've seen a lot of lash artists questioning whether to continue or not, especially with how difficult it's been in the last couple of years. Specifically, I've known a few lash artists who have put the tweezers down and done something else, or I get people in my DMs asking me, how do I know if I continue on, if I don't? And I also know a handful of lash artists and salon owners who have decided to move on to the next thing and close down or to sell their business. So I don't want to talk about this topic and make anyone feel discouraged of that you can't be successful as a lash artist, or people are quitting, people aren't doing well, whatever else. There's something the industry. I don't want to cause panic. I don't want to cause fear. I don't want to make you feel like this isn't a good industry. You can't be successful at this, because that's absolutely not true. But everyone's individual journey is just so deeply personal and different that everyone's path is going to look different. There are some people who are going to be lash artists for years on end and be very successful with it, and maybe eventually move on and go into education or coaching, podcasting, teaching classes, doing apprenticeships, owning their own brand. There's all kinds of avenues that you can go into in our industry. So there's people who are going to do it for years on end and be very successful with it. There's also lash artists who are going to do it for maybe a few years and then move on to something else, or a year and move on to something else. But I also want to point out that this happens in every industry. It's not just the lash industry. So I just want to say that first, because I don't want to, especially if you're a newer artist or you're really trying to grow right now, I don't want to make you feel discouraged and that people are quitting, or this isn't a good industry to go into, or you can't be successful at it, because that's not true. It's just everyone's individual path looks different. Like I was saying, it still is a conversation to have, because especially when you have poured your heart and soul into lashing and growing your business and being a business owner, and you have put so much time, money, effort, sweat, tears, blood, whatever into this, and you have been so passionate about it, and it's when do I know that it's time to evolve or move on or put the tweezers down or do something else or get a 9-to-5 job? Or when do I know that for myself? And I'm going to tell you straight up, I cannot answer that question for you on your own individual path and in your own individual decision. That has to be a decision that comes from within yourself. I can kind of give you my insights on that journey for me and what I felt like and why I decided to put the tweezers down and evolve and pivot into something new. And I'm just going to share my experience, my journey, my insight with it. And hopefully, if you are on this journey questioning whether you should continue lashing or not, or whether it's time to pivot into something new, it can help give you a little bit more clarity into whether that's the right decision or not for yourself. So I guess I'll just start with sharing a little bit of my story of why I decided to put the tweezers down to pivot into something new. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, I don't remember if I've talked about this on the podcast before or not. Just like straight transparency, I've talked about so many different things and I've told so many different stories and things. I don't always remember everything I've ever said on here. So if I'm repeating myself a little bit, I apologize, but it's obviously relevant to what we're talking about today. So with that being said, I had been lashing for, well, let's see, the year was 2022. No, 2021. The year was 2021. I had been lashing for 7 years at that point, and at that point, I had another lash artist who was working in my studio with me. I was really working on getting into the education side of things, the coaching side of things. I was already doing that part time on the side. And so I had kind of already been evolving my business as it was. And the reason that I started to do that was for myself personally, I felt very maxed out with my time and my income potential and the goals that I could reach with the time and the effort that I had allotted for my business. So, as a parent, I knew I only wanted to work a certain amount of hours with my lash business. I could only take a certain amount of clients in that time. I kind of felt like I just kind of hit my cap with how far I could take that with the time that I was willing to put in. I wasn't willing to put in more hours for clients. I was trying to add other lash artists in with me, and it went okay, but it wasn't working out super well. They only stayed for a few months each for various reasons. The one went back to school and one of them moved. So they didn't stick around long term. And it just kind of felt like, because it was like, well, I want to keep growing my lash business. So that kind of felt like the natural progression. Let's bring someone else in and to lash with me so I can keep growing without me having to take the clients. And it worked really well and it was great while I had them in there with me. But I don't know, for me it just didn't seem to work out. It didn't feel like in my gut. I know myself and I know my intuition pretty well, and that it was just telling me that like this isn't the right path for you right now. And also it just wasn't working out. I'm someone who feels like if it's meant to be, it's going to work out. And while it did temporarily in both of those instances, like it didn't stick out long term. It was just kind of like, okay, I'm not going to keep like trying to, I don't know, what's a good metaphor? Beat this nail into the wall if it's not working. It kind of felt like I was forcing it at that point. And it was just like, okay, this doesn't feel aligned or where I'm supposed to be. I just felt maxed out, honestly, and I wanted to keep growing. I've always been someone who has like I want to be working towards a goal. I can't just like sit around and maintain life, I guess. I don't know. Like I always want to be working towards something. I always want to be bettering myself and doing better, working towards a goal, growing. And so I just kind of felt maxed with that and I wanted to keep going. So then I was like, okay, I really want to educate one day. I really want to, help other people grow their businesses. So that's why I started doing that part time on top of taking lash clients. And so I had kind of started to pivot that my business in a little ways like that when I was doing both of those things. And mind you, I think I was a little bit burnt out this year because I had had a baby in October 2020. So I had like a newborn, I had a baby. She was young. And my husband was working out of state that year. So he would be gone during the weekdays and then home on the weekends. And then he would leave to go back out of state to work again. So it was kind of a lot where I had a newborn and a toddler, or a baby and a toddler, and I was growing my lash business, taking lash clients, and my husband was working out of state. And it was just a lot going on. I felt kind of maxed out with where I was at, just like with capacity wise. Like, I want to keep growing my business, but I just feel like I felt burnt out. It was like I'm doing so much. I can't keep up with all of this at once. I also was just kind of looking at our goals as a family. Back in 2021, we had these big plans. We were going to go on like a full summer long like RV camping trip thing. And unfortunately, that didn't happen for a variety of reasons that I'm not going to get into, but I just knew we had certain goals as a family. And I knew as my kids got older and got into school and activities and extracurricular things that I wanted to be a little bit more flexible with that for them in this period of my life. I didn't want to be tied down to an every 2 to 3 week lash schedule anymore. So I just kind of like felt like it was a natural progression for me. Like I felt maxed out with where I could take my lash business. It wasn't working out to bring on other lash artists to work with me. I was already starting to kind of dabble in the education side of things and the coaching side of things. And I was working on growing those. And I had really big goals with those that I wanted to grow. And also knew like, what are my time constraints? How much time and effort and capacity do I have for these things? And it just kind of felt like I couldn't reach the big goals that I had with the education and the coaching and the podcasting side of things, which the podcasting side of things came a little bit later after I had already closed my lash studio. But it just didn't feel aligned. And I feel like alignment's kind of like been a buzzword the last few years, but that's just where I was at. Like I felt burnt out. I felt like I was at max capacity. I knew I had big goals. And so I had to kind of adjust and pivot my business to align with those goals. Sometimes you're going to outgrow goals, you're going to outgrow dreams, things are going to shift, things are going to change based on your circumstances. And like as my kids got older and as my time was more important to me, more valuable to me, it just was like, well, I think with the goals that we have as a family, what we want to do, the lifestyle that we want to live, I think it's time to pivot my business to adjust with that and to flow with that because it just didn't feel like I could use my lash business to help me get to that lifestyle. And I think that's really important when we're talking about this is what kind of life do you want to live? Because your business is meant to be a vehicle that helps you get there, okay? It's supposed to be how you can yeah, how you get there from point A to point B. Your business is that vehicle that gets you there. And if your business isn't set up to allow you to live the kind of life that you want to, then that's an issue. And that's kind of where things came to a head for me and where I realized that this isn't the dream anymore, which was crazy because building my lash business and my clientele and growing my lash business was the goal and the dream for so long. And I was so proud of that journey and the growth that I had and everything I overcame and the success that I had with it. But it was just time for the next thing, as bittersweet as that was. And what that really manifested as in my life, how I was noticing that too, was I was just really feeling a lot of resentment for going in to take clients. And it's not that I resented my clients themselves. I absolutely love them. I still talk to a lot of them to this day, even, 4 or 5 years later after closing. But I just got to a point where I was like, "I don't want to go in at 6 p.m. and take clients right now." Like, I wanna be with my kids with dinner time and nap time, and I wanna be with my kids for bedtime. I want to go to their activities at night with baseball and t-ball. I don't wanna be missing these things and, like, sports or whatever activities they were in. Your journey's gonna look different than mine, but that's where I was at, and it was like, "Well, I'm starting to feel some resentment for this." It wasn't feeling aligned, I was really feeling burnt out with it. I was just like, in my heart, I can just feel that this is not the journey I'm meant to be on anymore. And that was still a really hard decision to make, especially because I had built my lash business to the point where it was reliable, consistent income. Every single month, I knew at least how much I would make minimum. And it was stable, it was consistent, which is what we all want in our businesses, right? When we're our own business owners. That's the scary part about leaving a 9 to 5 is losing that stability. So, since I had built that stability into my lash business, it was like, am I really going to let this go to start something new? Because even if you're in the same industry realm with industry, like you're getting into educating, same industry, completely different business. And you're having to start over again. You're like the beginner and starting from scratch. And that was really scary to let that go and go into something new. And honestly, it was a lot of hard work. I don't know that I would do it the same looking back, like completely close out my lash business just because of how difficult it was. I think I should have, which I'm not going to should have myself, but looking back, I think if I did it again, I would have taken lash clients a little bit longer than I did It felt like the right thing to do at the time, though, so I don't regret it in any way, shape, or form, but I will say that that journey was hard pivoting into education and coaching and podcasting and, like, having to start over again, and I had to believe in myself so hard. That is what fueled that time in my life because I had no other thing getting me through that than just the belief in myself and the vision that I had of where I'm growing this thing, and that is what pulled me through all of those ups and those downs. That was probably one of the hardest periods I've ever experienced as a business owner, was that pivot into closing my lash studio and getting into education and coaching and podcasting and now social media management. So, it's been a journey and it's not easy. I don't regret any of that, like I said, but it was difficult, but it did feel like the right thing to do at the time, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful I made that pivot when I did so that I could start that journey and get it growing so that I could be where I am today, because we all start somewhere, you have to start somewhere, you're not gonna be perfect at it, you're gonna have to grow with it, but I'm grateful I started that journey where I was, but that's basically what it was for me. It wasn't feeling aligned with my goals anymore. I felt capped out with where I could take things. I was feeling resentment towards taking clients. I feel like my work wasn't as good at that point. Like I still did a really good job with lashes, but the passion for it wasn't there at the time because I was feeling so burnt out with it. And so I feel like that kind of manifested that I wasn't doing the best work that I possibly could either. Like I wasn't being the best lash artist that I could be. And so that kind of told me like, okay, I need to what no matter what decision I make, I need to slow this down and kind of like realign things so that I'm not burnt out, so that I can be the best lash artist I can be, and so that I can show up for my clients in the full capacity that I should be. And so that's just a few ways that it manifests in my life and what made me decide. And like I just really felt it so strongly and heavily on my heart that like it is time to pivot and move into something new. And I feel like that was, I believe in God and have faith in God. And so I feel like that was him kind of guiding me on that and like letting me know that this is time to make this change. Can totally respect that not everyone has the same beliefs that I do. So whether that's, whatever that looks like for you, of some type of higher power or the universe or whatever. I know that's different for everyone, but I just felt or intuition, I just felt very strongly that it was that time for myself. So that's kind of what that journey looked like for myself. And it's going to be different for everybody. When I stopped lashing, I closed my lash studio at the end of 2021. I started the podcast February 2022, and that has been an amazing journey with the podcast. But I think it's just really important with whatever you do next that you really think about how it's going to help you reach your goals and how aligned it feels for you. And I know a few people who are like in the process of selling their salons right now or thinking about putting the lash tweezers down or maybe offering a different service. Maybe you're just adjusting your services or like just dropping classic lashes off your menu or dropping volume lashes off your menu, just aligning your services and your business to be more in line with your goals and what you want to be doing right now. Like you don't have to follow all the rules. You can be who you want to be and be run your business how you want to, right? I know a few people who are in that process right now though who are like in the process of selling, they finally have made the decision to pivot either out of lashes or to sell their studio or to do a new service or to drop things, whatever. They finally felt made that decision and they just feel the biggest weight lifted off of them. And I think that's a huge sign that once you do make that decision, if you do feel that weight lifted off of you, that like, okay, I think this is the right decision. I think this is like, when you're feeling relieved about it, that's when you know that it's time. So that's something I wanted to point out too, just because I've had multiple people tell me that, like, Erica, I finally made the decision to pivot into something new, and I feel so light and airy about it. It feels so good to not have that pressure on me anymore. And it's just one of those things that's going to be individual to each of us. And there's not a right or wrong answer, or it's not going to be the same answer for everybody. You have to do what you feel is best for you, what you feel is going to be best for yourself, your situation, your family. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, changing what you're doing, putting the lash tweezers down, selling your salon, whatever, if it doesn't work out, you can always go back to it. You don't have to stick with it forever. And I think that's something I have to remind myself too, because I can get stuck in like decision paralysis. Like, oh my gosh, like I don't feel safe with this. What if this? What if that? What if this? Well, what if you really enjoy what comes next? What if you really actually enjoy working a 9 to 5 and it's a lot better for your nervous system and for the stability of your family? That's okay. Y- No one's judging you. Like, you don't have to put your ego first of like, "Oh, I need everyone to feel like I'm successful and I can't possibly quit because then people will think I'm not successful and I went back to the 9 to 5 and that means I'm a quitter." Okay. It's if it's better for you and your family, you do what you need to do for you. And I think it's just important to remember that no matter what decision you make, it's going to be okay. I think when I make decisions, I feel like it's going to be unsafe and all of the what ifs and like, oh my gosh, it's so outside of my comfort zone, whatever. And I just have to remind myself that, like, no matter if I make a decision and it doesn't work out, like, you can always go back and do it again. You were a lash artist once, you could do it again. You built a salon once, you can do it again. Like, you can always go back and do it. So if you're like, "Oh my gosh, I decided to put the tweezers down and I took a break and I really miss it and wanna get back to it," or that didn't work out, or I didn't like the 9 to 5, whatever, you can always come back to it. It's not gonna be the end of the world, and I think that's just important to remember. Even if you feel you make the decision, you feel like it wasn't the right one for you, or maybe you took the break and that you took the time that you needed and now you're ready to go back to it, you can always go back to it if you need to. Or if you go back to a 9 to 5 and then you're like, "Oh, this isn't right for me. I'm gonna go try this other business venture that maybe isn't even lashes," then that's okay. You don't have to stick with the same decision. You can always change your mind and go back and do it. Like, you've done it once, you can do it again. And if you're doing lashes and you're just like, "You know what? I just need to take a break for a minute and see what's the best for me," that's okay too. I think it's just too important to remember that it's not the end of the world. It's going to be okay. You're going to be safe no matter what. It's going to work itself out no matter what. I truly believe that, like, a God or the universe or some type of higher power of some sort works it out for you and is going to help guide you to where you need to be. Everything's going to work out the way that it's meant to, the way that it is supposed to. There are opportunities all around you, and even if you, like, make a decision and you feel like it's not the right one, it's gonna help you decide what you're supposed to be doing anyway. You're gonna learn from it, okay? It's going to help guide you and help you realize that, "Oh, maybe the 9 to 5 wasn't right for me. Oh, maybe the 9 to 5 was exactly right for me." But you're not gonna learn that and figure that out without making a decision and taking action and just figuring things out as you go. And you can always go back and fix something or make a different decision if you want to, and it's going to be okay in the end. I think that's something, like, my husband reminds me of all the time too, because 'cause I'm definitely, like, the freak out type of person who, like, it's way outside of my comfort zone. I'm thinking about all the what ifs, I'm nervous, I'm, like, anxious, I have a lot of anxiety, and, like, when we were talking about the timing for him quitting his 9 to 5 job to take his business full time, he's just so much more relaxed and chill about it than I am, and I'm just like, "We need to plan this and that, we gotta make sure we can pay the mortgage, blah, blah, blah." He's like, "What's the worst that can happen? We lose, I go back to a normal job, I go back to a 9 to 5, I go work for another company if it doesn't work out." He's like, "What's the worst that can happen?" I'm like, "Well, the worst that could happen, we can't pay the mortgage, can't pay the bills, lose the house, whatever." He's like, "Okay, we lose the house, and then what? We figure it out. We rent, we do what we need to do, we lose the house, okay, fine." Like, and it's not like he's wanting to lose the house or he's okay with losing the house, like, obviously, that's not something we want to happen, but he's just of the mindset of like, we're gonna be okay and we're gonna figure it out and we're gonna be safe and it's all gonna be fine in the end, regardless." And like, he's like, "Okay, if it doesn't work out with my business, then I go work another job. I go work for somebody else. I get, like, he's like, we're gonna figure it out." And it's just such a good reminder for me and something I wanted to share with you too, just because you're going to be safe. You're going to be okay. It's going to work itself out one way or another. And if you make a decision and it's not the right path and you made the wrong decision, maybe, then you're going to figure that out and you can readjust and make a new choice and go down a different path or go back to it or switch to a different job or whatever. Like, you have so many opportunities around you and you get to decide what you do with that, which is both scary and amazing at the very same time. So, if you are struggling with this, I just want to send love because I know that it's hard. I know what it feels like and I know it feels scary. When I feel like outside of my comfort zone, I feel nauseous, I feel like anxious, I feel dizzy, I feel like I physically do not feel good inside of my body. Like, I just chaos, right? So I know how that feels, and I just want you to know that you're not alone in that, and that there's a lot of people going through this right now. And whatever you're feeling is valid, in that if you want to make a different decision, or you want to be, you want to shift into educating, you want to shift into coaching, you want to start your own brand, you want to go back to a 9 to 5 job, you want to do something else with it, you want to switch services, there's no rules, there's no one set way to do things, and you don't have to do something like everybody else is. You get to decide what you're going to do with your business, what you wanna do with your life. No one else gets to decide that for you but you. That doesn't mean it won't be scary. That doesn't mean it won't be hard. That doesn't mean that it's all gonna be, like, perfect and it won't come without its hardships, or people judging you, or people being mean to you, or whatever else. That, unfortunately, is all part of the journey, but the beautiful thing about it is that you get to decide who you are, who you want to be, what you wanna do with your life, what your goals are, what's gonna help you reach those goals, and how you wanna get there. Because there's no one set way to reach your goals, okay? There's so many different ways that you can get there. If you feel like you're forcing it right now, it's okay to let that go. It's okay to let that dream, or that goal, or that vision shift a bit as you grow and you evolve as a person, and your priorities change, and the way you want to spend your time changes, and the kind of person that you are, who you want to be, changes. I felt like before, like, oh my gosh, I can't change my favorite color. I can't, this is just who I am. Like, you make it such a part of your identity, like these things about your past are who you are, and you can't change outside of that box. You can change your favorite color. You can decide you want to do something else with your life. You can decide that you want to pivot. You can decide that, hey, I want to be the best freaking lash artist out there, and I want to do this for so many more years to come. You get to decide who you want to be, and you get to decide if you want to change that. You don't have to keep holding on to these past identities of yourself, these past definitions of yourself, the past stories or experiences that you've had. You can always decide to be someone new, or create a new story, or a new path for yourself, or a new narrative about yourself in your own head. You might be telling yourself stories that this is just not who I am. I can't reach that. People like me can't achieve those goals. I can't do that. No, no. You get to decide who you are, what you do, who you want to be, and your past does not have to define you. The stories in your head that you tell about yourself, those mean ones, you know what I'm talking about. Those don't have to define you, okay? I love you, and I know that you're going to make the right decision for you. And if you decide something and it doesn't work out, or you want to change your mind again, hell yeah, sis, go and do it. Like, don't hold yourself back. You have one big, beautiful life. Do with it what you want to do, because at the end of the day, no one else is going to remember. It's not, a lot of the things that we worry about aren't going to matter when we're at the end of our lives. And at the end of the day, we all have a clock ticking down of how many days and minutes and seconds, hours we have left on this earth. And you never know how much time that has left. So you might as well go do whatever the hell it is that you want to do, and go big, or go home, or both. I like going big and going home. But anyway, I'm cheering you on, and I know you're going to make the right choice, and I know that it's all going to work out for you, and that you've freaking got this. You're not alone in this. I'm cheering you on. God's got your back. The universe has your back. Your intuition has your back. All of the things. You are not alone. You can do this. I'm cheering you on as you go. I hope you have a great week. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts at, so that you can get notified when new episodes go live every Tuesday. And if this was helpful for you, make sure to share it with a friend, or leave a review on the podcast, so we can help reach other beauty business owners and lash artists just like you.